Due to its extremely hazardous nature of the work, agriculture is the sector where, according to latest ILO estimates, around 60% of child laborers around the world work. And yet it remains a sector where limited progress has been made to address child labor and where programs are underdeveloped. The situation in sub-Saharan Africa gives cause for extreme concern, as 1 in 4 children is a child laborer in this region. Malawi, which is one of the least developed countries in the world, has the familiar story. Like most other sub-Saharan African countries, she is riddled with child laborers in a number of sectors, particularly in the agricultural sector. The Malawi Child Labor Survey, conducted by the National Statistics Office in 2002, showed that child labor is one of the biggest challenges affecting children's rights in the country, with about 1.4 million children working in tobacco farms, tea fields, fishing industry, or in domestic households. ILO Chief Technical Advisor for Malawi, Mr. Khalid Hassan, confirms the fact that child labor is indeed a problem in Malawi.
A child labor survey was conducted in Malawi in 2002. According to that survey, 1.3 million children are in child labor in Malawi. 53% of those children are in agriculture sector and the remaining are in other sectors.
Malawi's economy is agri-based, meaning it is based on agriculture, which accounts for about 38% of gross national product and more than 90% of export earnings. The main crops grown are maize, tobacco, tea, sugarcane, groundnuts, cotton, wheat, coffee, rice, and pulses. Tobacco, in particular, is said to be the green gold, as it fetches over 70% of export earnings. However, not all that glitters is gold, so the saying goes. Despite its massive positive contribution to the country's economy, Malawi's tobacco industry has been blamed for harboring child laborers who toil to survive. Kasungu, Mchinji, and Kotakota in the central region are where most children are working on tobacco estates. Winter Banda is a typical 19-year-old former child laborer who hails from Lomba village in traditional authority Chulu in Kasungu.
We were working without maybe to give us a special time, maybe to do what we want on ourselves. And we were facing also problems, maybe kudandala ndi njala, kupita kuja kugwira ntchito, kupapeza kuti kupita mochedwa mwina chama past 4 usiku, pobwera kuja mwina madzulo without eating anything. So this was making us maybe to see a lot of problems.
There is now a growing global consensus affirmed at various international forums that if significant and sustainable progress is to be made towards the elimination of child labor, then tackling the issue in the agricultural sector must be central to these efforts and must become a priority. One of the most recent such forums was the International Conference on Child Labor in Agriculture held in Washington, D.C. in US from 28 to 30 July 2012, where delegates from around the world acknowledged the fact that lack of strong, well-organized and well-resourced trade unions make child labor difficult to address, particularly in agriculture. This situation is aggravated by government's incapacity to monitor and enforce existing legislation and regulations, if at all they exist. But in Malawi, what initiatives have been undertaken and continue to be undertaken by government and the wider society to address the challenges that are both global in nature and those unique to the country? The Malawi Congress of Trade Unions, MCTU, is one national institution that was first to blow the trumpet on the existence of child labor in the country. MCTU Secretary General, Mr. Robert Nkwezaramba, explains the role of his institution throughout the campaign and advocacy against child labor ever since the problem was brought to the fore in Malawi.
Malawi Congress of Trade Unions was the first organization to raise an alarm that Malawi was using children in its tobacco or plantation sector. So our role has been to raise awareness on the plight of the child, raise awareness on the international standards, in particular conventions of the ILO that speaks against child labor or the use of children. We have lobbied government to create an enabling environment, issues of labor law reforms or labor law reviews that I've seen. For instance, now we have a draft tenancy bill which is yet to be enacted in Parliament as a measure to curb the malpractice.
Traditional chiefs are some of the key stakeholders that MCTU has worked and collaborated with at community level, right from village development committees or VDCs to area development committees or ADCs. Traditional Authority Mansambo in Kotakota district is one such chief who has worked with MCTU with remarkable success.
Makana target my state to my folder. Ndeno analifusa ngati ATC kuti abwera adzagwira finchito. Tilo ngati chitsumutso chili chapadera. Tinalandira ndipo takhatugwira ntchito pasaka zambiri wabasi. Akha kuti ngati project imfika pena muna funding kuti yarani yatha. Temechiko panga phase out braso. Kuti pa nthawi imene takhatugwira ntchito tugwira ntchito kubwera kwambiri. Okay. Zotsatira zina my trade union anatibweretsera project ya school tani primary school. School meje kuti bwere chifutume kuja tena ndi bambo atafika pendula amene ali nkhazi opsa kubasi ndana chiona chazeli mkati mwa estate adeka pa school meje kuti mmene kuti wafika kumona kuti ufusa hedi mwana environment kawo kawera kwambiri.
The Malawi government, through the Ministry of Labor and Vocational Training, for a very long time, repeatedly denied that child labor, especially in the agricultural sector, was prevalent in Malawi. However, government later swallowed its pride to accept the vice, following a video documentary which was independently produced in the early 90s, highlighting the nature and magnitude of child labor and the interventions of MCTU, its partners and other stakeholders. Its line ministry is currently coordinating a number of interventions in collaboration with various stakeholders, including MCTU. Mr. Wezi Kaira is the Principal Secretary for Labor Ministry, and he outlines government's programs and some of the policies, as well as pieces of legislation that government has either put in place or still working on them, mainly the long-awaited tobacco tenancy bill, which is yet to be enacted.
Okay, the situation of child labor in Malawi currently, I can say that we are making very good progress for the simple reason that a few years ago we launched the National Action Plan on Child Labor, and that has helped us to start implementing a few programs and activities with our stakeholders, namely some companies or institutions and also employees organizations. On a policy level, the child labor policy has been developed and is waiting approval by government. And also on the tenancy labor bill, it has also been developed with the input from all the social partners, and currently is with a cabinet being scrutinized further. But we hope that in the near future, all these things they will translate into registration.
Apart from partnering with government and the International Labour Organization at policy level, MCTU has also been implementing a number of projects to combat child labour in the agricultural sector in collaboration with various partners at community level. The Center for Youth and Children Affairs, or SEICA, is one of such key partners of MCTU in the implementation of a child labor project in two traditional authorities of Mkanda in Mchinji and Ichulu in Kasungu. The project is called Stop Child Labor Campaign through the Coalition Against Child Labor in Malawi, or CACLAM. The SECA Programs Manager, Mr. Desmond Muhango, says the project's key implementation strategy is to build on the already existing strength of partner organizations rather than reinventing the wheel.
The activities includes the identification and withdrawal of children for reintegration into their homes. Basically, the key strategy for implementation of the project is building on the strength of partner organizations. So it identifies which are other organizations within the project catchment area who are doing similar programs or are involved in programs of child protection, or any other organizations that may give support to the program, because the project does not have everything. It may not be able to have every skill required for the process to withdraw and reintegrate the child involved in child labor, knowing that children are involved in child labor for various reasons.
Winter narrates how the MCTU and SECA project has positively changed his own life after being withdrawn from the tobacco estates in Kasungu and sent back to school at Chulu Community Day Secondary School. The Form 3 boy is proud that he managed to scoop position 3 in last term's exam.
In class, I'm doing very well. Because when I was in standard 8, I was also doing very well. And I passed very well. And I selected Chulu Community Day Secondary School. Last term, I made number 3. That was number 3 in Form 3.
Even the deputy head teacher for Winter School can attest to the fact that the boy has the potential to turn himself into a very productive adult citizen if he continues to perform the way he is currently doing in class, thanks to the MCTU and SECA project that gave him another chance to excel.
Winter was indeed one of the child labor which suffered, and we thank you for identifying Winter to be one of the students which you are assisting by paying him school fees. In fact, the time he started in Form, while he was in Form 1, and you have been paying school fees and you have been assisting him and encouraging him, and he really is doing better. He's really working hard. He's capable, and we promise that even Form 4 he's going to do better.
But Winter is not the only kid who has benefited from the MCTU and SECA project in Traditional Authority Chulu. Over 30 boys and girls in the area have been withdrawn and reintegrated back into society as well as in school. The main challenge, though, has been the sustainability of the project due to limited funding, a situation that has seen some children going back into employment. Child Labour Monitor for the Mela Child Labour Committee in the area, Mr. Nelson Chakaneka Banda, complains that it takes too long to repatriate withdrawn children back into society and school.
The major challenges that we had met when implementing this program is that some of the employees were faced us. They were saying that you will see, I'm not his person to play with. Those are the challenges that we were faced when we were visiting the employees. But to the SECA, as the founder of the project, we found that when we told them that we had found a child labor somewhere who is supposed to be repatriated very soon, the process was very wrong. That makes us to be failure, as we wanted to repatriate that child labor where he was to the originated home where he came from.
The Labour Ministry has been implementing its programs in all districts through its labour officers, who play a very critical role in ensuring that government's programs and policies become successful at community levels. However, most of these officers face a myriad of challenges. Mrs. Olive Panyanja is the district labor officer for Kasungu, and she explains some of the challenges that have made her work difficult.
The main challenge we have been facing is some employers do not understand our role as Minister of Labour to say we have the whole Act of Employment and the whole chapter and the section which normally gives us a mandate to enforce, so that these employers should be apprehended if they are found employing the children. Another challenge is the employers, again, they normally tell the children to cheat us on the age. They normally tell them, if you find the labor officials, can you not forget that you are 18 years. But when you look at the face, and when we take these children to the hospital to check upon the age, because the hospital officials, they normally say if the bones are not meeting on the head, that means the child is less than 18. So to us it's a challenge. Another challenge is the keeping of data. Because we have the structures on the ground and they report to the district, and the district labor is the secretariat. Sometimes the information is lost on the way. So to us it's also a challenge. If this information from the communities are not lost, to us it would be a plus. And also another challenge is the way these employers are charged, because nowadays with the falling of the kwacha, you find the fine which are charged, the 12,000, the 10,000, the employers do challenge. That is not much for us. You find the very same employer is repeating again. So to us, it's also a challenge.
The district labor officer from Chinji, Mr. Josam Zowolimale, agrees with Mrs. Panyanja that their offices face a number of challenges which, if addressed, can go a long way in tackling child labor and ultimately winning the crusade against the problem in Malawi. He adds more challenges on top of those outlined by his counterpart.
The main challenge is transport, because where we are implementing this project, Kakra, is about 6 kilometers from the Poma. So sometimes we use motorcycles. So during the rainy season, it's very difficult to reach in the remote areas when it is raining. So it's a challenge. And the other challenge is that some of the withdrawn children, it's not all of them who have been assisted. There's just a little who have just been assisted by the Kakram due to inadequate funding.
The fight against child labor needs not to be a one-man's job, as it requires concerted efforts from various organizations. Besides the MCTU and SECA projects, another organization that is doing outstanding work on the ground is the Center for Youth Empowerment and Civic Education, YESE, in Lilongwe. With funding from the ILO, the organization has withdrawn child laborers from a number of sectors. YESE Executive Director Mr. Lucky Crown Mbewe says besides sending the kids back to school, the organization is providing various vocational skills to the kids with the aim of transforming their lives into productive adults.
So far we have managed to prevent children from domestic child labor, about 1,450. And we have also managed to withdraw about 15 children from domestic child labor, and those have been repatriated to their respective homes. We have also managed to promote the working environment for the domestic child laborers, those that are within the working environment.
we just venture into it to improve the working conditions, considering that they were taken from their homes because of poverty. So if we send them back, it means it will be also prone to other forms of trafficking because they might be, employed in another area.
But how is the project affecting the withdrawn children?
Kufika kwa project imene ndinasanga kwambiri chifukwa kuno kwa child labor inalipo kwambiri. Koma pano kwa child labor yashepa chifukwa ana ambiri aphunzira ntchito za manja, ena aphunzira za carpentry, ena kuphunzira za tailoring, ena za barbing. Ndiye ndikuthokoza kwambiri kuti chitukuko chitafika ndera langa lino. Child labor inapezeka kuti yachepa, ana ambiri tsopano akhala ndi tsogolo ndithu. Ana anayamba 36 pakali panopo tili ndi ana 27. Ana enawo akupezeka kuti panopo palibe chifukwa choti ena anapita m'makwawo, anabwerera m'makwawo, monga kwa ana amene anabwerera kudzagwira ntchito ngati za makomo. Project inathandizira kuti ana amenewo abwerere m'makwawo akayambirenso sukulu kuti akhale ndi tsogolo. Komanso ana ena ndiwoti anali oti kuti asamabwere muno alowa m'mabanja koma ndi anochepa amene alowa m'mabanja koma ambiri ndiwoti akupitiriza sukulu komanso akupitiriza kugwira ntchito za manja monga lili tsogolo lawo.
As beneficiaries, how do they feel about the project themselves?
Zikazokuti kwabwera anthu afuna ana amene amagwira maganyu awapatse ntchito ina yake. Ndidakumana ndi anthu ena amene ankalondoloza zimenezozo nkundimeza nkumandifunsa zona zole kuti upezeke kuno kwefenyani ndene ndikauza ndana anditenga ndibweretsa kunoko ndikundiuza ngati ndingalole ine nkupezeka zole nkulola ndipezeka zole sikulu ndasiyaso nkupitaso sikulu kukandilimbitsira sikulu.
There is no denying the fact that a lot of work at both policy and community levels is being done to eliminate child labor in all sectors, including particularly in the agricultural sector. At the same time, the fact that there are a lot of projects being implemented means therefore that there are a lot of challenges and best practices that need to be shared among many stakeholders through a consultative platform. It is against this background that a national conference is being organized to be held from the 4th to 6th September 2012. The conference is expected to be officially opened by the State President, Mrs. Joyce Banda, at the Cresta Crossroads Hotel in Lilongwe. The presence of the head of state at the conference will likely be a significant boost to the fight against child labor in Malawi, considering that the first female president in the SADC region has a very strong and passionate background in civil society work, predominantly in the advocacy movement for the rights and empowerment of women and children. The National Conference has received support from numerous organizations which have committed to participate. Among other delegates, the conference will bring together politicians, church leaders, civil society organizations, the media, employers, international development partners, government officials, children themselves, and other key players in the field.
We need the conference on child labor for the reason of bringing, making the international community know what achievements the country has achieved and what can be done to eliminate child labor. In the conference, the best practices that have been demonstrated in the country and which are successful will be presented, and also the resource gaps will be identified and shown to both the donors at the national level and international level to get more resources for the complete elimination of child labor from the country.
Yeah, I think the conference that we're having very shortly, I think it's commendable. It's coming at the right time when I think these issues of child labor are at the heart of the government, and we feel that during the conference, delegates and participants we will seriously look at the successes that we have achieved, and also they will look at the challenges that we have and see how those challenges can be translated into opportunities. And also the conference will give us a platform as to where we want this fight, the direction of this fight on child labor to go, so that maybe 5 years down the line we can actually come back and have another conference to see what we have achieved during that particular period. So this conference, I think it's very good for us to do this talk.
Indeed, the National Conference on Child Labor will enhance social dialogue among various stakeholders and help to resolve some of the critical questions on child labor. At the same time, it will build on the tremendous successes that have been achieved so far by government, international development partners, and other key players like the MCTU and its partners.
The conference seeks to bring together the political divide, the business, the players in the child labor campaign or fight against child labor. The overall objective is to showcase best practices and also identify best examples that have taken place over the years, but more importantly, to consolidate our efforts with a view to develop long-lasting strategies to mainstream the fight against child labor in the country as well as globally, because we have partners that are coming from outside the country, and the forum will seek to impress on them in terms of what Malawi has been able to do, and in particular each stakeholder has been able to do in the fight against child labor. One striking advantage or good thing that we have is that it will be opened by the head of state, and that shows the political will and commitment that the Malawi government has put in ensuring that child labor is eliminated in the country. So yes, we showcase all these issues, we'll discuss the challenges that we have, but we'll come up with clear positions as labor, as employers, as government on how further we would want to take this fight of child labor after the conference. So we are set to showcase at the conference, but also learn from others in terms of the best activities they have done in fighting child labor in their various constituencies.
Child labor that may be defined as employment of children in any work that deprives them of their childhood, interferes with their ability to attend regular school, and that is mentally, physically, or socially, or morally dangerous and harmful, if left unchecked, will deprive children of their education and mental and physical development, while at the same time creating and perpetuating poverty. As stakeholders converge during the conference, the nation and the entire world will look up to the forum's direction and guidance on future interventions in the fight against child labor. We can therefore conclude that eliminating child labor should be a joint effort, and a conference like this one is necessary and requires the support of all. Let's wish the conference all the best and fruitful deliberations as we commit to
stop child labor.
Stop child labor.
Stop child labor.
Stop child labor.